going to move into one of the main themes of the Author in Me Festival, and we're going to have our panel discussion now on diversity in publishing. So I'd like to invite to the stage Kerry Ann Bentley and Anila Dhami, who's going to be moderating for us. Kerry is a literary agent at the Good Literary Agency, where she represents select children authors and poetry clients who include award-winning author Alex Wheatle MBE, Yvonne Bailey-Smith, Gemma Weeks, and many, many more. And we have the lovely Anila, who will be moderating for us, who is an award-winning British journalist, presenter and reporter, committed to serving a local, national and global audience. She's worked for major media companies, including ITV News, Channel 5, LBC and the BBC. For over a decade on TV, radio and online, Anila has helped tell people's stories authentically and shared information and opened up conversations and asked questions people want to know the answers to. And obviously they are joined also by our lovely Ekta. So please welcome them.
So let's begin with Ekta and the aim of the Author in Me Literary Festival and why diverse voices. Quite a simple question, I think, to start with.
Thank you, Anila. I never get tired of this question, to be honest. Every year, relentlessly, we talk about this in our festival. And no matter how much we talk, I think we still need to talk more and more about this. Years back, in the literary world, men dominated the literary world, right? There were very less women writers. I think there were none at some point. And the narrative that they gave of a woman was far away from the reality that women were thinking. I mean, nobody really knows what women think, but, at that point, until women started writing their stories, that narrative remained. There was a revolution of expansion in consciousness, in perception, when women started writing their stories and sharing what they were feeling, really feeling. I see diversity something similar. Society is always changing. It's a dynamic society. It never stays same. And as society changes, art and literature have to adapt. If art and literature do not adapt that in their narrative, society will just move forward without any soul and spirit. There will be no expansion in perception, in tolerance, in love, in empathy. And for that reason, we need diversity.
Why have you taken it upon yourself to create that space, you and Monica?
Like I said earlier, that somebody had to do it. We did it because I'll share a very small incident with you. Years back when I started submitting my manuscript to agents, and I have an agent here, well, most of the time the answers never came back. But when they came, the letter always said, you are a very good storyteller. You have a potential as a writer, but these stories are not our priority. Now, I was at the brim of just giving up, thinking, well, I don't belong. I mean, my stories don't belong here. I'm not a priority. But then I read again, I'm a good storyteller. I have the potential to be a writer. Then why don't I belong? And I think it's that belonging that we want to create. And that passion is our guiding light, that everyone needs to feel belonged here.
I think the key there also is the fact you had the confidence to know that you're able to write and you can write, because that is obviously a huge barrier that you broke for yourself.
Absolutely.
Kerry Ann, you're a literary agent for established and debut authors. What do you see when it comes to diversity in publishing? What do you see when it comes to diversity in publishing, and do you see many diverse writers coming to you?
Thank
Thank you. So I am a literary agent at the Good Literary Agency, which was founded in 2018 by Nikesh Shukla, an author, and Julia Kingsford, his then literary agent. It was founded specifically to represent marginalised writers, writers from working class backgrounds, disabled, people of colour, LGBTQ+. So it's within the ethos of our entire agency, and thus within my own as well. And we work very closely with other institutions that are interested in diversity to support them. But as agents, we are obviously looking for diverse talent, and we understand the barriers in access, and also just having someone, as literary agents, we're sometimes called the gatekeepers of the industry. And so having someone who looks like you, is familiar with your stories on a really personal level, can make all the difference in seeing the value in your writing.
And you obviously specialise in that area, but do you see many people coming forward saying we want to be published, we want to write, like the confidence that Ekta's displayed there that she had with her writing? Do you see people having that confidence to come forward? Are there people trying to get into the market?
Yes, 100%. There are many people who want to be writers from all walks of life. Is something I actually only learned when I got into the industry, because that's why there are so many submissions to read through. A lot of people have a novel in their bookshelf. But in terms of diverse talent, yes. There is obviously a status quo within publishing, which you indicated at. And as a younger career agent as well, part of kind of finding the diamonds in the rough is seeking them out rather than waiting for them to come to you. So an author who's submitting to an agency already knows that they need to submit to an agency, and that indicates probably a lot of knowledge, or a little bit of knowledge, about what it's like in this industry to find representation. Whereas I'm doing a lot of work of seeing people's profiles on social media, reading in The Guardian their columns, and being like, is there a book in you? Is there an author in you? And bringing them in. And then usually, along with my authors, I'm usually their first access point to the industry as a whole.
And as the access point, as the gatekeeper, what do you look for?
Obviously, really, really good writing. That's actually not very obvious. We've all read books that have been bestsellers that we don't think is really great on the sentence level, but I kind of think as authors split into, really natural storytellers, and there are writers who just know how to spin a sentence and make it really beautiful and lyrical. I'm greedy, so I like both. And so the diverse talent I'm looking for have got to show a really good element of storytelling, because you usually have more than one story if you're a storyteller, and I'm looking to work with career writers, and that's really important, that there's just not just one and done. And I'm also really looking for beautiful writing, just integrity on a sentence level.
Ekta, coming back to you, obviously Author in Me helps diverse voices get onto the shelves. What have you seen when it comes to people's journeys to make that happen?
In terms of?
In terms of the authors, the writers that you've been supporting and that you've come across through Author in Me.
Their journeys, we always find that the first thing that people, they are not aware of the whole process at all. So most of the time they don't approach an agent or a publishing house or anyone in this industry because they're not aware. They think it's just too tedious. But only thing is, for the first thing, we make it quite accessible, and seeing that some of the times they are also not great writers. They have a great idea, but maybe they are not good writers. So to tell them that, even if you have an idea and it's still raw, there is still a process that can make it happen, and you can work with a mentor. So educating, I think for us, it's been a lot of educating the people about the process before actually starting the whole process of publishing. So I think for us, we spend a lot of time in having those initial meetings and understanding why they really want to publish, what is it, the thought behind this story, and what is it that they want to achieve out of it.
Okay, so I would say we can say that's one barrier to people getting published is not knowing how to go about it. What would you say are some other barriers to diverse voices getting published?
Publishing is probably the easy part, I would say. Now, I mean, if you have the systems in place. The barrier we face is when these books, these brilliantly written stories are out there in the world, and to be honest, the media sometimes plays that role. That, you know, if an author is not known, or maybe is of a color of a diverse author, they are probably not given that space which they should. There is also another barrier of readers, because sometimes readers also have to be open in their perception of embracing new cultures. There are bookstores that we go to. I mean, we are trying to find collaborations with these independent bookshops, and we go and research there. And they say that they have some lovely books that they are reading in their book clubs, which are based probably in a different world. But they hesitate to display or sell it through the bookstore because they think that they don't have enough market for it. But our argument is, if you don't give them the chance, how do you know it doesn't work? So I think another barrier is the reader's mindset also, which has to change. And I don't know if that has to be, it's a chicken and egg kind of a story. The media, if helps us, or the whole publishing, these books are out there, they will be seen. Those are the two main challenges that we strongly face.
And Kerry Ann, I suppose there I could ask you what you think could be the answer to some of those barriers.
It's a very long, complicated answer. I would reduce it to specifically for diverse voices, specifically to money, and also competition. So in 2020, we all saw an effort from many institutions to become more diverse. And I'd say in the last year and a half, that effort kind of tailoring off really quite rapidly. And I don't believe it's because the status quo, the gatekeepers, do not want diverse voices. We are in a very politically turmoil state of the world. We're in a recession. Things are very expensive. That means books end up actually being very expensive. And one thing I feel people who are outside of the publishing industry, they romanticize it a lot, but it's really, really a business. It's about money. And so not on the author side, I think many of the barriers, and actually, say if you are a diverse author, one of the first barriers is getting an agent. So then it comes on the other side. That's when the industry has to meet you where you are. And I think many of the failures of the industry is not having enough of us representing those diverse authors. So not enough agents of color, editors of color. And that also goes through the entire publishing pipeline. So I have an author who is not British, and he was being copy edited in his novel, and the copy editor referred to a food that was very common to our culture, and she had lots of questions around it, and it was funny, but it made me very furious that someone at this, the copy editing is one of the last stages before your book goes to print, and this person would have been doing this job for many, many years. And what was worrying to me was that they still asked the author what that meant instead of just Googling. And I think what's worrying is that lack of curiosity and the assumption when you are the status quo that your understanding and your ideas is the default, is the normal, and then not wanting to extend and go beyond. And then once you get past the copy editing stage, then you go into marketing. Diverse audiences are looking for diverse readers, but the middlemen, the editors, the publishers, the people in the marketing publicity teams, they're probably not going to be people of color. And so even they want to make this effort, they've bought the book from this diverse author, they're probably going to have no clue how to find the audiences. And that's a case of first becoming aware that that audience is there, that they have buying power, that they read, and also, again, returning to money, investing in the campaigns of the, debut author of color the same way you do Sally Rooney on her 4th book. And so, yeah, I'd say most of the barriers, it's not just getting the talent noticed, but also having them supported by the industry, but having many, many people represent them on the other side.
I want to wrap up with some tips on pitching and the process. Yes.
Anything specifically?
I suppose if I was coming to you with a manuscript, how would you like me to pitch it to you?
Every agency has different submissions rules. So my past agency only wanted 10 pages and a synopsis. Now you have to send me 3 chapters. So following the rules of the information that's very readily available, it's going to get you a good step in the door. And then what the agent is looking for about 3 things. Firstly, it's why are you querying me? Who are you? What's your writing saying that you think we would be a good match? If you've read my manuscript list, you know that I do not want a space opera. So if I get a submission of a space opera, I'm going to shut it down. No matter if the writing's amazing and there's commercial success, I don't want to work with someone who can't find and follow instructions very easily. And then you'd want your elevator pitch, the hook. This is, telling the reader about what your book, getting them excited about it, seeing the potential. And like a lot of agents want comparative titles. This is a really quick way for people in publishing who are used to just reducing things to a simple line so that we can get things moving quickly. So if you can say your book is Titanic, but in Mars, don't send that to me, but it will make me know exactly what you've written, and then that makes it an easier sell for me to an editor, and in turn that makes it an easier sell for an editor to their sales team and beyond. And then a little bit of background about you yourself as an author. What have you done writing professionally? Have you just written your diary since you were 10? Just painting a full picture of yourself. But that's mainly it. Keep it 1 page. Definitely highlight your book, but make sure that the agent knows that you've done your research and that you've really thought about where your book is being placed in the market and that you are aware of the market.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. My co-writer's sitting there, so I hope you've been transcribing, taking all the notes. Ekta, what would you like people to take from the festival?
That it's, if you have a story, don't hesitate to come and share. It's not that hard to approach a publisher. We are here to help. The process is simple, but it may take long. Sometimes some authors just want a quick fix, and also that every heart has a story and we are here to help.
And because I know that conversations like this are like gold dust, I will open the floor up to a few questions if anybody's got anything they'd like to ask, because it's so hard getting in front of an agent. So yes.
Annika Rice.
Hi, thank you for that. The question goes to,
Kerry Ann.
Kerry Ann. Thank you, Kerry Ann. Comp titles. My name is Eva Wong Nava. I write for children. So comp titles. I mean, as a diverse author, it's very difficult when you have stories that come from your background to find comp titles out there. And how do you, as an agent, mitigate that or help your client do that?
So they probably would have found the comp titles before they became my client. But the advice is not just books can be comparative titles. Storytelling happens in all modes, and there's lots of popular ones, and I think, universally it's film and TV. So if there's a film that actually is more like your book, that's actually what a lot of agents are looking for. We're really looking for cinematic writing right now. So use film, or if there is something very specific from your culture, if it's exactly right, then I would just say the person on the other side should do the research and find out why you've chosen that. But I would generally keep them contemporary, and the linkage, whether it is another film, a song, or a series, just make the linkage quite obvious.
Okay, I'll take one more because poor Kerry Ann's going to be chatting all night.
Hi, so my name's Geeta Rally. I'm also an author of 2 children's books. I've got a question for Ekta. So it was really interesting for me to hear about the struggles you've had getting your books by a small publisher into bookshops, into the media, and so on and so forth. Do you have any tips from all this hard-won experience for authors like Eva and myself, who also face these challenges? Even if you're with a traditional, conventional publisher, you still find that you'll walk into a Waterstones and they'll say, "Oh, you should talk to the Waterstones in Harrow because there are a lot of Asian people like you in that area." So you get kind of dismissed and sent off to do these things.
I think authors today have to be their own brand, to be honest. And they have to see beyond the books what they can offer to their audience. And I think social media plays a lot of important part here. So you have to be resilient, you have to be consistent in your efforts, and find something that you can offer to your audience. That book has to expand through you. If there is some knowledge that you can give, you have to find your niche and create that audience through social media. I find social media just the hook there. And sometimes, these big stores, they will just look for you and think, okay, this one has some value. She's doing more than just a book. You're not just selling the book, you're selling your knowledge and your wisdom as well. So just be consistent and persistent. That's all I can say. There is no other solution.
Kerry Ann Bentley, Ekta Bajaj, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anila.
Thank you so much. A discussion that's really at the heart and the core of what Author and Me do. And once again, we find that passion and persistence is what gets you through.